Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of r/today I F up. Today I F up by being tricked by a straight guy into dating him. So to start things off, I'm gay, I live in a small town in the middle of nowhere USA. I'm a male 18. I wasn't ever really bullied for being gay. Unless it was online, everyone was cool with it except the super conservative families in town. Of course, I've heard my fair share of names and threats, but I shrug them off. It's normal to me. There's this group of boys who are like the super bro dude straight guy group of the school. They act more gay than I do, but still call me names, etc. In this group, there's this guy I'll call Skylar. Skylar is my age, looks like a puppy dog, and was very sweet to me always, but always presented as straight. Which is why I was shocked when he asked me out this summer. I mean, I'm not ugly or anything. I just didn't expect this super dude bro jock to ask me out. Our first date was amazing. I mean, it was on the 4th of July at our state fair. We got corn dogs, played games, and he kissed me on the Ferris wheel. After a few dates, we had gotten a lot closer. We never had sex though, he wanted to wait and I respected that. My ex-boyfriend's birthday was on October 20th. He had this huge party and invited everyone, and of course I wasn't shocked when he invited me. This is where I was stupid. I was head over heels for this guy. I was like stupid in love with him. I mean, I'd get giddy every single time I saw him, and I'd get butterflies in my chest whenever he touched me, even after 3 months. I was in love with him. I think part of me still is, which is why I'm heartbroken writing this. I bought my boyfriend Skylar this beautiful pendant and chain. It was at 18 karat gold with a diamond. Very expensive, cost me 2 years of working part-time at McDonald's. I was very excited to give this to him. At his party, he brushed me off the entire time. I gave him his gift and a letter that I wrote from the bottom of my heart. I thought we were forever. Turns out it was all a lie. He started getting giggly with his friends reading the letter, and when he finished, he was crying laughing. That's when he started explaining that it was all a dare and that he only went out with the town slur to win a bet. He thanked me for the necklace and went on with his party. I've stayed home for several days now. I'm heartbroken and just devastated. I thought this boy was the absolute love of my life. Turns out all of his friends was in on everything. To the text messages and the letters we would write each other. We were on the down low because he said he wasn't ready to tell his family he was bisexual. This was already a red flag I ignored because his mom is bisexual and would have been completely fine with it. But this entire time he tricked me. He broke my heart into pieces, and I can't help but scream into my pillow. I want to hurt him the way I hurt. I want to hear him scream the gut-wrenching screams I scream late at night when the earth is quiet into my pillow so my family can't hear me. I can't go back to school, I am already the laughingstock on social media. I'm thinking of switching schools and going to live with my aunt. I was blinded by love and hurt. Next story. Today I F up by telling my GF about war. I am 38-year-old man, have recently started dating 31-year-old woman. I'd been single for nearly 6 years prior to this. I had a very difficult relationship previously. I felt used for my stability and the constancy that I provided. I'm not the kind of person that thinks that all women are awful or that the dating world is entirely and perpetually flawed for men in my age range. But, typically, I have poor judgment when it comes to other people's intentions, and that has certainly led to a string of situations where I was valued almost exclusively for what I provided and not for who I was. To some degree, I think that's alright. But I needed a break, so I left the dating scene for a longer period of time. I'm a veteran. I served following 9/11, and while most people in my life know that I am a combat veteran, their knowledge starts and stops there. I live in a large city, and there seems to be a general lack of empathy or respect for military service. I am pretty okay with that, in that I generally don't want to relive that part of my life. That doesn't mean I didn't enjoy or that I am not proud of my time in the uniform. I am. But I am very alright with moving forward in my life and not having it be central to my current experiences. The problem is that I have PTSD. Not as bad as most. I think that I made out very lucky compared to some, and the bulk of my symptoms are not constant. I tend to get a little tense sometimes at night and can struggle with vivid dreams. This is not an every night thing. It comes in fits and starts lasting usually a week, maybe two if it is a bad go, and then fading back. Very rarely, I have extremely intense dreams that wake me suddenly. I can be disoriented during this time or very emotionally activated. After I separated from the military, I became a military contractor and changed my career to a technical field. I got myself educated/trained in a technical specialty and built work experience working as a civilian contractor overseas where I built myself a substantial nest egg. I was mentored by good men on investments and income generation and have done very well for myself. I hold a full-time position back in the States now with a generous salary and benefits. I've taken care of myself physically, and despite having several injuries, I've stayed very active. So, in regards to PTSD, I have it much better than some, and I'm very grateful that is the case. I'm sorry this is so long. This girl and I met several years ago, but I was not dating and she was seeing someone. We clicked right away but never spoke of it or crossed any lines, and did not maintain communication. To the point where when I thought of her, I did not reach out. I wondered if I'd imagined the entire thing or if she'd felt it as well. Well, a few months ago, she reached out and we met up and the sparks were there. The boyfriend she was seeing is long gone and we've started to date. This is the first time I've opened myself to a romantic relationship in a very long time. Things have progressed and she has begun spending the night. This is where my first anxiety has come into place. I didn't want to suddenly have a bad episode at night with her there. I didn't want to speak about or even acknowledge my PTSD. I'm embarrassed not only of having it but also of speaking about it because so many men endured and endure so much worse. I have so little to complain about. But with her spending the night, I had to at least tell her that sometimes I can wake up suddenly and seem very frightened or alert. I don't, or haven't, done anything like dive onto the floor or reach to arm myself. But I do suddenly bolt upright sometimes. I have called out before. And other times I get the shakes for a few minutes and feel very confused about where I am. So, I told her. And she was an angel about it. But she also asked me to talk about what it was like with her and some of the things that I remember and struggle with. In the past, I've never gone there with someone. I think sometimes the truth is not what people, particularly women, in my experience, really want to hear. But, in the past, I've been often criticized by past partners of being emotionally unavailable and closed off. They've been critical of my inability to be open with them and have expressed feeling like there were parts of me that were a stranger to them and that it was part of what drove our relationship into negative places. Without excusing any of my ex-girlfriend's decisions or behaviors, she wasn't wrong in this criticism. But still, I couldn't bring myself to really open up to my new GF. She pressed gently but left it alone. She was very sweet through this. Very encouraging. She told me that there was nothing that I could say that would change where we were going together and that she appreciates anyone who served our country. She's a generally empathetic human being and I felt relieved that she didn't really press me to elaborate in that moment. I felt more secure and safe. She told me she loved me. She clings to my arm when we walk together and she compliments me on my body, my clothes. She tells me that I'm handsome and that she feels lucky. She posted me on her social media and introduced me to friends, co-workers, her parents. 3 days ago, though, I did have a fairly rough wake-up one night. It was not my worst. No yelling. But I bolted upright in bed suddenly and startled her awakened, apparently, sat very silent and tense for a few seconds while she tried to ask me if I was all right. I don't remember her asking me repeatedly. I only remember hearing her and telling her that I was fine and thinking it was the first time she'd asked. I settled fairly quickly after. I usually do. But she, again, gently asked me to share with her what I see during these nightmares or what memories I have that bother me. I looked at her. This beautiful young woman. And, for the first time in a very long time, I felt seen and I just didn't want to ruin things. I didn't want to push her away. I've done very well on my own, but there's something blissful in being loved and loving someone, and for whatever reason I opened up. I shared with her a single account that sometimes bothers me. She asked detailed questions and I answered. At first, anyway, I answered openly. But I began to see, even in the dark, her expression changing. I saw worry in her face. I wouldn't call it fear, but I certainly saw uncertainty. And I understood what was happening too late because her next question was, "Did you enjoy being there, though?" I'm convinced almost every combat veteran can tell you that they enjoyed it. Even the scariest, most violent moments. There's some part of us that comes alive in a way during those situations that just can't when we get back home. It's a cliche by now, but it's real. And she asked the question knowing the answer. I saw it in her face, hoping I would say that I didn't. I couldn't lie to her, but I didn't answer the question. I tried to hit that middle ground. At this point, I just wanted her to leave it be. I wished I'd never opened my mouth. That was 3 days ago. She's been distant through texts, and we haven't seen each other since. There's nothing, I don't think, that I can do now. Dating has been very difficult for me. I'm so discouraged. I felt that this girl and I had found something. As a veteran, we are constantly told to talk about it. Whether you're on TikTok or Instagram, there are just mountains of posts from people, well-meaning people, telling you to share and to speak. Friends and family all want you to confide in them. Or, in the very least, know that you could if you wanted to. But I mean this when I say, for those of us that served. You really can't. Or, in the very least, you will never really be able to tell whether you can or can't until you've made the choice and the consequences of that choice are out of your hands. I was falling for this girl, and now, despite my best attempts to stay positive, I can't help but feel she saw all of me and walked away. Part of me knows that's alright. It's her choice. And there's integrity in letting someone have that part of you so they can decide if they want to deal with it or not. But part of me can't help but feel like I will never find a partner. And that there is a part of me that I have to hide from those that I love because it is more than anyone can handle. I don't know how to shake the profound sense of loneliness I suddenly feel. I find myself wishing I'd never responded to her to begin with. I find myself wishing that I knew better than to even attempt to try and date again. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.